October, 2012. Patrol Base Wahid. NAD Ali District, Helmand Province. A lance corporal from 2 Para stands on the hood of a battered flatbed, brush in hand, white paint dripping in the heat. He leans forward and carefully writes a single word across the gun shield. It's not meant for outsiders. No reporters, no brass. Just the men who've ridden inside that truck and lived to joke about it. Because by that morning, the vehicle beneath him has already been blown up, twice. 2 separate IED strikes. 2 recoveries. 2 returns to the road. No fatalities. Not even serious injuries. 3 days later, it happens again. A command wire bomb detonates directly under the hull on the return leg from a checkpoint handover. The blast lifts the vehicle, tears through the dust, and leaves silence in its wake. And then, doors open. Every man inside walks away. At first glance, it doesn't look like much. No turret. No heavy cannon. No imposing silhouette. Just a reinforced truck, something closer to a workhorse than a war machine. In Helmand, it was easily overlooked. Maybe even underestimated. But over the next 5 years, this unremarkable vehicle would quietly become one of the most important pieces of equipment in the British war effort. It was called the Husky Tactical Support Vehicle, Medium. And almost nobody talked about it. To understand why the Husky mattered, you have to rewind to 2008. By then, the war in Afghanistan had outgrown its original plan. British forces were pushing deeper into volatile regions like Sanjin, Musa Qala, and NAD Ali. Supply lines stretched thin across roads seeded with pressure plates and hidden explosives. The problem wasn't firepower. It was survival. Logistics convoys were running in unarmored trucks, flatbeds hauling ammunition, water, and rations through some of the most dangerous terrain on Earth. Drivers wore body armor and hoped for the best. At the other extreme, heavily armored vehicles like Mastiff offered protection, but came with a cost. They were massive, slow, and often too wide for the narrow compounds and fragile infrastructure of Helmand. And then there was the Snatch Land Rover, a vehicle that had become a symbol of everything going wrong. Lightly armored and increasingly vulnerable, it had sparked public outrage and political backlash back home. Between those two extremes, too soft and too heavy, there was a gap. A deadly one. The Husky was designed to fill it. Not flashy. Not revolutionary. Just right. Built on an American chassis, armored with a modular Israeli system, and fitted with British communications and counter-IED technology, it was engineered for one purpose: survive the road. It could carry supplies, troops, or casualties. It could navigate narrow alleys and unstable bridges. It was light enough to deploy quickly, but tough enough to take a hit and keep going. And it did. By 2010, Huskies were rolling out across Helmand. They became a familiar sight on Route 611, pushing north through the Sanjin Valley. Convoys moved before dawn, Mastiffs leading, Jackals flanking, and Huskies in the center, carrying everything that kept the war alive: food, fuel, ammunition, medics, sometimes even mail from home. These missions weren't quick runs. They could last days. Sometimes a week. Crews slept in their seats. Ate standing up. Crossed ground that could change from safe to deadly overnight. Above them, electronic jammers hissed and crackled, cutting signals before they could trigger hidden bombs. Most days, it worked. Some days, it didn't. One particular Husky, registration KJ80AB, became something of a legend. It arrived in 2010. Over the next 2 years, it was hit by 3 separate IEDs. Each time, it was recovered. Repaired. Sent back out. Each time, its crew survived. By the 3rd strike, it had earned a reputation, not just as a vehicle, but as a lifeline. Today, it sits in a hangar at the Imperial War Museum in Duxford. Quiet. Static. But it tells a story. Not of destruction, but of endurance. Official records are careful with their language. They talk about blast protection and design effectiveness. But the numbers say more. Across publicly available data, there are no confirmed British fatalities directly attributed to a Husky IED strike during Operation Herrick. Other vehicles took losses. On foot, in convoys, in patrols, soldiers died. But time and again, when a Husky was hit, the outcome was the same. The crew got out. On paper, the Husky wasn't supposed to stand out. Sleeker vehicles looked more modern. Heavier ones looked more intimidating. Critics dismissed it as a rushed purchase, a compromise. Even a rejected design from another program. But that was the point. It wasn't built to win competitions. It was built to solve a problem. And in the end, that's exactly what it did. It ran the routes others couldn't. Carried the loads others wouldn't. Took the hits, and kept moving. It didn't chase attention. It earned trust. Back in Helmand, that lance corporal finishes painting. Steps back. Looks at his work. Not glamorous. Not heroic. Just honest. Because in a war defined by uncertainty, that truck did one thing better than almost anything else on the battlefield. It brought people home.